If a person can't live where she wants to live because of a discriminatory reason, she may be caught in a place that doesn't have access to good schools or to good jobs, or quite frankly to full-service grocery stores or to banks or to all of the other amenities that make our lives worthwhile, allow us and our children to be successful. So home and the other private fair housing groups around the country are vital to ensuring that kind of fair housing choice. Your life outcomes should not depend on your zip code. The choice of where we live has to be protected, has to be enforced, and only through the vigorous enforcement by private fair housing groups like Home will we actually get to the promised land.
The mission statement tells it all, ensuring equal access to housing for all people.
I remember riding on the bus with my parents, and we had to always go to the back of the bus because Richmond hadn't caught up. And then, of course, going to a restaurant, it just wasn't happening.
I grew up in Hampton, Virginia, in a white neighborhood that was adjacent to a black neighborhood. But I went to separate schools, shopped at separate grocery stores, went to separate churches. It was a wholly segregated community in the 1950s and 60s. When I got to Richmond, I found the same thing.
We were outraged how casual some of the organizations were, the rental groups, how casual they were. They said, you know, whites only or something like that. And you'd say, what?
We came to Richmond in 1970 when Jim Hecht was initiating an effort to get an open housing, fair housing group going in the city of Richmond. Jim worked laboriously to get people interested in establishing Home and recruited a lot of us young people, 28 years old at the time, who became his acolytes.
Pete was one of them, Pete Stiff.
Buford Scott and Gene Boone, Waylon Rennie, and of course then there was John Ritchie and Virginia Ritchie.
I took notes. I actually raised money by calling people and saying, would you give as much as $10? And some did, and some said, we've never given a gift as low as $10, we'll give you 25. But it was really piecing it together piece by piece. And then I remember somewhere in that period when Barbara was hired by Home, and suddenly it was a new day.
Barbara was a true Renaissance executive director. She did everything you need to do to form and run an organization. But it was her vision in the end that was most important.
We were all excited about it. We all cared about it. We all thought we were going to get involved and make a difference. Some of the board meetings were in people's homes. Some of them were in people's offices. Sometimes it was in a restaurant.
Thomas Jefferson High School, All Souls Presbyterian Church, Jim Hecht's living room.
It was wherever we could get together.
Our first office space was at 503 East Main Street on the second floor, and it was a lot of steps, I'm going to tell you.
It was comfortable, it was messy, it was small, and papers everywhere. We were so committed to the mission and the vision and accomplishing Barbara's leadership that I didn't even realize we were in such crummy offices.
Each time they won a suit, each time they made a difference, all of those were memories that were really important to all of us. And the board stayed in tune with all of that. I mean, we fed on that.
We were going to change this society. That's all there was to it, because we didn't know we couldn't.
We developed a Home Seekers Guide to share with people when they came in to see us and to be able to educate them, to let them know what was actually out there and that could be available to them, and that we were there to stand behind them as they went through the process.
Home was set up and there were things going in place and the testing started.
We did something called a sandwich test where we went to rent an apartment, and I thought I had an absolutely fantastic experience, and I didn't know that I had been discriminated against. But when they put the data together, what I didn't know is a white tester had gone in before and a white tester went in after. Both of them were given the opportunity to rent, and I was denied. And I had the most pleasant conversation and experience, and were it not for testing, I never would have known that that kind of discrimination existed. I was shocked.
As one of a number of testers for home, Haven sort of snuck up on me. I was there, I was doing the testing, I was reporting back. But it was Barbara who was really looking at the data and analyzing it. And it was Barbara who was conferring with lawyers about how to push the law forward.
Barbara Wurtzel had brought this case that everybody had been talking about.
I think her proudest moment as executive director of Home would have been the Havens settlement, which really put Home on the map in many, many ways.
Before Havens, if you tested and you saw there was discrimination, there was nothing you could do but know that it existed. This freed up testing and gave it a whole new significance, because now you could send out testers alone, and those testers could bring cases. But also the organizational standing. If organizations could file fair housing lawsuits and claim that their mission was deterred by discrimination, then they could move cases forward. There was a whole new world that opened up because fair housing organizations had standing as well.
The Havens case opened up many doors of opportunities for fair housing experts and fair housing practitioners.
Home to me was an early fair housing organization that went way out for its time period in terms of testing, in terms of public relations, and in terms of making a commitment to minorities looking for housing who had been turned down in one way or another.
Home has, over the years, followed through on the core values, following through on their passion for the law, fighting discrimination. And even though discrimination exists still today, Home is there, we're still working.
I guess today I just hope that some of that work that all of us idealists put in the 60s and 70s has reaped some benefits. And Home is one of them. So it's nice to feel that there's an organization still here that is being productive and impactful.
Housing instability makes every other dream that everybody has impossible.
Fair housing impacts every area and aspect of a person's life.
The need for fair housing and equality is as strong today as it was then. Everyone has a right to fair housing, regardless of the color of their skin, their national origin, religion, gender, sexual preference, or disability. And so the fight is still valid and needs to be fought.
For people at organizations like Home, the hope is that it becomes irrelevant, that it works itself out of a job. But racism in our country is so deeply seated, and it comes and goes. We're at a much more desperate time now than we've been just in the immediate past. Home has an extremely important mission right now and for the foreseeable future. It would be nice to think that one day housing opportunities made equal won't be needed, but for now, it is.